So Squarespace has made one of their biggest updates yet. They have created a brand new editing system called Fluid Engine where it makes things fluid. It's a new editing experience that's going to eventually replace the classic editor. And while this is a big update, it's also a very exciting one. It's going to allow for more flexibility and more creativity in your website design. And it's going to allow you to do things that you couldn't previously do with the classic editor without some coding and some major editing. So in this video, I am going to talk to you about what Fluid Engine is, how it's different from the classic editor, and show you around at some of the features. This is not a full tutorial. This is just an overview and a general walkthrough of some of the newest features to Fluid Engine as of July 2022. So what we're going to do here is we are going to just start we're going to choose one of these templates. Let's just do this one. So when you're creating a new 7.1 site in Squarespace, if it's a brand new site, you are automatically going to be using Fluid Engine. If you have an existing 7.1 site, any new sections you add to your site are going to be Fluid Engine sections. Any existing sections you can convert from the classic editor to Fluid Engine. If you have a 7.0 site, you do not get Fluid Engine. Your website will remain with classic editor. At some point, Fluid Engine will replace the classic editor. I don't know when that will be. I don't know what will happen to 7.0 sites at that point. So just kind of keep that in mind. So what I've done here is I have just started a new template. All of this over here in the left is the same, but when I click on edit, you're going to see that the editing screen looks a little different than what it used to look like in classic editor. As soon as my computer wakes up. Okay, so you see this, here it is. You see that when it pops up, it'll show an ad block right here. And we've got edit sections. Let's go to a different section down here. Let's try this one. Okay, you've got edit section. This is different. And then over here on the left, you've got this ad block. This is all new. When I click edit section, one of the biggest things that's changed is that Squarespace has always worked on this block foundation, and they still work on this block foundation within Fluid Engine, except now, whereas before you only had 12 columns to work with in a particular section, now you have 24. So that's one of the things that has changed. And this whole system, this whole Fluid Engine system is based on a drag and drop system that's going to allow you for more creativity and more flexibility in your design. The classic editor used simple block containers. You didn't see this grid system in the background. And you had blocks like text and image blocks and spacer blocks that would just kind of snap into place. It was a very easy editing system to use, but it was also very limiting. So with web design trends heading more towards an interactive experience, Squarespace needed to create something that allowed for more design freedom. And so that's what Fluid Engine is. So you see these increased number of columns from 12 to 24 across. And like I said, it's this drag and drop system where I can take elements and literally drag them around. Of course, my computer's going to be a little slow and wonky this morning. Let's put that back where it was. It still kind of snaps into place in the grid system, except you just have a little bit more freedom as to where it's dropping. I hope I don't have to film this later and let my computer figure out what it's doing this morning. Looks like I might have to. Okay, no, there we go. Okay, so you can also resize these block containers. So these blue, you see the resize options? can just resize things, whereas before you were only able to resize left to right. Now you can do, well, it's not going to let me because the text is scaled, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you can resize block containers. I'll show you the image block resizing. Let me get this back to where it was. Okay, but look at this, the image. When I click on the image, I can totally resize the image however I want. So that's the drag and drop system and resizing just by dragging corners. There are some things to know about Fluid Engine. All of your page sections, footers, and portfolio sub pages are using the new editor. But even if your site supports Fluid Engine, some of the areas your site still uses the classic editor are blog posts, event descriptions, product additional information, and block sections that were added before Fluid Engine's release. So I imagine at some point they're going to convert everything to Fluid Engine, but for now, those are still on classic editor. If you're editing in Fluid Engine and you want to see that grid system and it doesn't automatically pop up, just hit G on your computer and it will pop up. You can press G on your keyboard again and it'll go away. I'll leave it up so you can see what things are looking like right now. Let's walk through the section settings. These have changed. Classic Editor had its own section settings, but Fluid Engine settings are completely updated. So when I click on Edit Section, let's go top to bottom here. Row count increases or decreases the number of rows you have in your section. You can edit that here, or you can scroll to the bottom of your section and you'll see this little blue icon that you simply just drag. It's not going to let me drag up right now because I have content up there, but I can make this section even bigger just by simply dragging that down. So you can adjust the height of your sections that way. You can also close the gap on this grid. Right now there is some white space in between the grid system, but you can close it by just clicking closed. And if you can see the blocks are now touching, the grids are now touching. You will want to use this setting, close the gap, if you want items flush with each other. If you don't need items flush with each other in that particular section, I would just leave it with some white space to give yourself some breathing room. The other thing you can do here is fill screen. You can toggle it off, which means your content is going to lay flush to the section above it. Or you can turn it on and you're going to get some white space and some margin there. And you can also adjust the height here. You can make all of your content in that section aligned at the top, in the middle, or at the bottom. So that is all new. The background is the same as 7.1. The colors are the same as 7.1 as well. Again, because you no longer have the old way of editing, you no longer need a spacer bar because you can simply drop and drag things around on your website, on your design. So that's really cool. No more spacer bars. You also have, this is one of the biggest things people are excited about, you have the ability to layer objects. So I could move this button over this image if I wanted to. Obviously, I would not leave it here. This is not a design tutorial. This is just showing you what Fluid Engine does. I can layer text on top of an image. So now, and this is another feature, and I believe the classic editor also has this now, but you can click on a block, the text block, click the edit, and you can now add a background color to a text box. You can change the padding around the text box. You can give it a corner radius if you want to, just by increasing. Let's do a big one so you can see. You see the corners, you can adjust that however you want. You edit the background color within site styles. And you can also, if I go back and click on that text box again, you can align your content at the top, the middle, or the bottom. And what you see here is when I pulled this over on top of this image, this icon up here, I can move that text box to the back or the front. So that is something new and exciting with Squarespace. The other thing you can do is you can create full bleed sections. So even though there's no grid over here, my computer will let me. You can drag, I don't know why it's not letting me, there it goes. Drag images all the way to the left and create this very trendy split screen, full bleed site design. Now to do that though, what I need to do is create or change this to closing the gap. I'm also going to turn off fill the screen. That way you can see what's happened here is it's doing a full bleed into the section above it. I would obviously need to design this bottom section as well to make it full bleed. You know what, let's go ahead and do it. Let's drag this over to the left. Go ahead and make this bigger. And drag her down. Okay, so there we go. So it's got this split screen design that is super trendy right now. So that's kind of cool. You couldn't do that before without some custom coding. Again, you can edit individual block settings, and each block is going to have its individual settings itself. The text block setting, oops, well, we've already gone over that. The image, let's look at the image block setting. When I click on the image, again, I can move this to the front or send it to the back. I can change how everything's aligned, which doesn't really matter when you're using it the way it is right now. When I click the edit, though, design, you can fit or fill an image now. Fit means you're going to see the entire image without any cropping. Fill means the image is going to fill the entire container. You can change the shape. So any of these shapes you can change. So no more having to design those in Canva and then adding them. You can also give it corner radius as well. You can also, with text, if you click in it, you can scale the text itself. Ooh. So just making it bigger that way. So that's kind of cool. I'll move this guy down just a little bit. Let's give this guy a background color just so we can see it. Okay, and we'll move it here. All right. The other big thing you can do is you can edit. This is big. You can edit the desktop and mobile versions separately from each other. It's as simple as clicking the mobile view, and now you can edit this, whereas before you couldn't edit anything with it. There are some things to know about editing the mobile version. As of July 2022, anything that's added to your desktop version will be added to the mobile version in that same exact order. So you can see, well, this won't matter because I'm using a pre-made template right now, but if you add some new elements to a section, it's going to add it to that section in the order you add them in. So just know you might have to move some things around. I can change the size of anything within mobile view, and it will not change the size of it in desktop view. I can move things around and put them in a different order in mobile view, and it will not change the order of how they're changed on the desktop view. However, if I delete something or if I change an image from fill to fit, there are certain those things will change in desktop. So that is important to know that there are some elements that will change on both mobile and desktop. So fit or fill images, adding a background color to a text box or taking it away is going to change it on both desktop and mobile. Changing obviously what the text says or what an image is going to change it on desktop as well. So just keep that in mind. The other cool thing that you can do is if you are in mobile and you find that things are not adding to mobile in the order you want them to be added, you can now within Squarespace drag over all the elements you want to move at once. You can group them together and move them all at one time. And you can do this in desktop as well. So that's pretty cool as well. I'm going to go back to desktop. Those are some of the biggest features as of July 2022 with Squarespace's Fluid Engine. I imagine Squarespace is going to be rolling out new features, so just stay updated with that. I'm going to post this to my blog post with more information and some pro tips in there, so be sure to check out that link and let me know if you have any questions.